Hello friend, welcome back. My name is Becky if you're new, and today we are going to be starting the first seeds of 2024's garden. But before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and dump out my water where I am starting my sweet potato slips. I started these well over a week ago, and the water is looking pretty dingy and it's actually evaporated quite a bit. Let me show you the difference between this fresh water and the water that's been sitting here for a week. So this is my first potato to have roots starting to grow. Can you see the roots on there? And you can see how much the water has evaporated. I had this water filled all the way to the top and it's evaporated down to here. Some of it's actually absorbed into the potato. And so we're gonna go ahead and dump all these waters out and get them filled with fresh, clean water. Behind you, I have a big old stock pot filled with boiling water, because I am going to be doing a new technique that I've never done before when it comes to starting my seeds this year, because I'm a little gun shy when it comes to pests in my grow room. One more. This one is starting to produce roots, but I don't see any on it yet. Do you see those little white little nubs there? That's roots that are starting to grow. And then just some fun, exciting happenings on the homestead. I'm getting about 3 chicken eggs a day now that the days are getting a little bit longer, and look how beautiful they are. These green ones, I've been getting a lot of these green ones, and they're so beautiful. So we're back in the egg producing business. When there's a break in the weather, it's been raining off and on today, we're gonna go out into the garden and do some soil testing as well. I want a good baseline of knowing what's in my soil before going into the garden season where I'm actually planting things into the garden. And here I have a stock pot. This is a 30-quart stock pot that I filled about halfway with water, and it is boiling. Now, I only filled it halfway because I have to carry this into the grow room, and I didn't want it to be too heavy so that it wouldn't be dangerous taking this out into the grow room. So I'm actually gonna let this cool down just a little bit before we carry it out into the grow room, because I'm gonna be starting seeds using really, really hot water. I'm gonna be dumping out the water and putting fresh water in my sweet potato slips about once a week. I probably should have done it a few days ago, but today was the day I did it, so today's the day I did it. So now what we're gonna do is switch our attention to over here. You might notice a hose. I officially have running water. I've always had running water in here. I just didn't know I did until about a month ago when Josh and I told me. So all last growing season, I could have been having running water to water my seedlings out here, but now I know. So that is what we're gonna use to water our seedlings. And first, before we can water our seedlings, we actually need to start germinating some seeds. So what I'm gonna do here is, this is my bird seed, my no sprout bird seed, and I want this tote for making my soil blocks, because today we're gonna start our seeds using soil blocks, and this tote has a flat bottom, which I'll show you in just a minute, and this tote doesn't. So I'm going to transfer my bird seed into here. I have a little extra bird seed here, so I'm just gonna put that in here. I've been so enjoying feeding the birds all winter, and we're gonna get this back in here. Now I have a tote with a flat bottom on it, and this is going to be a lot easier to make soil blocks with a flat bottom tote than one with big ridges in it. Got some gloves on. Now what we're gonna be making our soil blocks out of is this Fort V Vermont compost. I buy this online, and I started buying this last year because Nicole from Flower Hill Farm, she has a YouTube channel. This is what she started all her soil blocks in. She's a commercial flower farmer, and now she owns a nursery. So if you want to follow that journey, it's pretty awesome. I can link her channel down below. But she starts all her soil blocks with this, and so I went off her recommendation last year, and I never had as good looking seedlings as I did when I used this. One thing when I first started seedlings indoors is I did not realize that seedlings need nutrients. Who knew? When you purchase seed starting mix in the big box stores, it doesn't have very much nutrients in it, because when a seed first starts to sprout, the seed has all it needs to germinate. And so those seed starting mixes that you purchase at the big box stores, they're really fine, have hardly any nutrients, because it allows for the seed to germinate without competition, big sticks or debris being in the way. But as soon as they germinate, they've used up all their energy, and then they need nutrients. And I did not realize that. And this Vermont compost has good nutrients in it. So it's not only going to allow the seeds to germinate because it's nice and fine, and I could sift this through a fine mesh sieve if I wanted to, but I never had any problems with seeds not being able to germinate in it if I wanted to get it a little bit finer. But once the seed germinates, then there's nutrients in this for the seed to thrive. And then I do fertilize and feed it as the seedling grows, but I'll get into more of that as we get into the growing season. So now what we're gonna do, that we've got a big tote of compost in here, I just went in and grabbed my water. This was a perfect way to do this because it felt very safe carrying this amount of hot water. It was, one, not too heavy, and two, there was a lot of give on the sides, so it wasn't gonna splash around. So now I'm gonna pour my basically almost boiling water into my bucket with compost. Oh, it smells good. Now you may be wondering why I just poured basically boiling water onto my soil. And that is because this could be contaminated with insects. I have never had that problem before. This is the first time I'm ever basically sterilizing my soil before I start my seeds. Normally I just use tap water and I fill tap water in here and I get started. Well, I had a bug infestation over the winter in here when I brought in some outside soil into this room. And this is always what the experts recommend to do, but I've just kind of been lazy and skipped this step because it seemed complicated or difficult to me, even though this was really easy. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting in there and trying it and doing it to realize, oh, it's not that big of a deal. So I'm potentially killing off any sort of eggs or larvae or anything that could be in the soil that could infest this room once I get started. And so every year I learn a little bit more, I do a little bit more, and I become a little bit more proficient, which means that I have a little bit more capacity to take the extra step to do it the correct way. So that's what I'm doing here. And I can link this Vermont compost if you're interested in it. I bought it on Amazon. It is not prime. It takes a solid 10 to 12 days to get it. So if it's something you want, I would recommend you order it sooner than later. And that's why I ordered 10 bags, because I really don't want to have to run out and need to order it later in the growing season. That's what I did last year. I'm going to be starting thousands of seeds though this year. So last year I think I went through 6 bags and I only started with 4, and that was my problem. I ran out and then I had to order more. So this is very warm. So what I'm going to do is just let this sit here while this is sitting here, potentially, hopefully, killing off any potential bugs. We're going to go out. I can see there's no rain in the forecast, so let's go ahead and get our soil sample and get our soil off to be tested for 2024's garden while this cools down, because I obviously don't want to put seeds, it's actually not that hot, in this soil that is this hot. I am using the same soil test kit that I used last spring. And the first thing you do, these are really, really easy to use. I have these linked down below with a discount code. The first thing you want to do is go onto the website and register your kit. So I did that already. So now we're going to take this out into the garden and collect our soil samples. So here we are out in the garden in all of its winter glory. And what I need to do is collect 6 samples from random sites throughout this garden. And I forgot my shovel. So I have to go back in and grab my shovel. I never in the past did soil testing because it always seemed super complicated to me and really confusing. But this kit is so easy, And one, it's easy to do the sampling and send it off. And two, I have all of my records from last year. So when I get my soil test back this year, I can compare and contrast from year to year to year. I meant to do this in the fall and I never did, but we're doing it today, so that's what matters. So let me go grab a shovel. So what I'm gonna do is pull my landscape fabric back, and I'm gonna dig down a good 6 inches or so. And I can see worms and all sorts of life in here, which is a good sign. Now I'm gonna take a little sample and put it in my lid here. And I'm gonna do this in 6 different random spots in the garden. I'm gonna put this back. What I did in the garden at the end of the year to close out the garden and put the garden beds to bed, there's another sample, is I put compost, manure, and amendments in the beds, and I covered all of them but that one with landscape fabric. And then they've been sitting all winter until today. So I'm curious, and I'm really excited to be able to compare what the beds and soil is going to be from last year to this year. There is no rhyme or reason to which beds I'm choosing. I'm just trying to choose a random sample. All these beds had the same initial soil put in them, and then I amended them relatively the same way in the fall. Okay, so there's my 6 samples. So now what I'm gonna do is mix this together. Because I want it to be a nice sampling of the samples. And it says right here what you're supposed to do, and it's so easy. You've got this container with water in it, and you do not want to spill any of that water. So I'm going to set this here. I've got a scoop here. I'm going to take 1 level scoop, making sure there's no rocks or big pieces of debris. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to close this up. Now I'm going to take my sample and I'm going to put it in this already addressed and postage is already paid for envelope. I'm going to put this in here, make sure it's nice and tight. Close it, seal it, and I'm going to go put this in the mailbox right now. You want to ship it within 1 day, and then usually it's 3 to 5 business days I will have my results back. Again, I've already registered my kit online, so as soon as they get this, they're gonna know that this is my kit, and we'll get the results, and I'll share with you what the results are. So 1 big project already done. I'm not gonna toss this soil. I'm gonna go dump this in one of the beds. The landscape fabric kind of blew off this bed, so I'll just dump this here. And now we're gonna go get this in the mailbox. By the time I get this in the mailbox, our soil should have cooled in time, and we are gonna start some seeds for the first time in 2024. Friend, I just got that in the mail. The sun has come out and it feels like spring. I know it's fall spring, but the sun on my skin between this weekend and today is giving me all the energy I need to start these seeds. The first thing I'm gonna do is grab a couple trays, and then here is where I have my seeds that I'm gonna be starting today. To be completely transparent, feel really nervous about starting seeds this year. Every single year I feel nervous about it. I feel a little bit of just nerves that nothing is going to perform and it's gonna be a big flop. But one thing I do know for sure is if I don't start anything, nothing will grow. So my goal is to start a whole bunch of things, and hopefully some things grow. And I know some things will, because every year some things grow. Every year I learn a little bit, I get a little bit better at it, and it does better every year. So I just need to go in with that attitude. Now, one thing I'm gonna be doing a little bit different is I'm gonna be starting with a small soil blocker. Last year, I started all my soil blocking with this 2-inch soil blocker. I'm gonna be using this for some things, but for a lot of the things we're gonna be starting today, because a lot of things we're starting today, the seeds are really small and they take a really long time to germinate. and I don't want these big soil blocks taking as much space under my grow lights because a lot of these seeds need light to germinate. We're gonna be using this mini soil blocker, and there is 20 little blocks in this soil blocker. So let's go over to the soil and get some soil blocks made because we need these before we can actually start any seeds. And this soil is now, it's steaming a little bit still, but by the time I make the soil blocks and have them sit and we actually start seeds, it will be cool. I've never soil blocked with this little mini one before. Oh, it worked. When you're making soil blocks, you want your soil very saturated, but when you squeeze it, you don't want it really squeezing out any moisture. You want it to hold its shape like this. So that's perfect. Now, because I have so much soil in this tub, I'm actually going to use the side of the tub to compress it. I'm gonna push down just a little bit. Now I'm gonna come over here, compact it. So I'm pushing on it a little bit before I fully release it. So that's 40 little soil blocks right there. So these first two, I can see I did not put enough soil in there. Might be hard to see, but they are, especially this one's about half the size of those ones. So I'm gonna actually just put this back in here and I'm gonna redo that one. It is so incredibly beautiful out here right now. I'm gonna take advantage of that. One of the reasons I like to garden is I like to be outside. So I'm gonna do this outside while I can. It's gonna start to rain at some point and I'll go back inside. I'm trying to be space efficient, and that's why I'm starting a lot of these seedlings in these itty bitty soil blocks. This is the first time I'm using this itty bitty soil blocker. I've used the larger one and really enjoyed it, and so I thought I would try this mini one this year. Now there is a little thing that I'm going to put into my larger soil block when it's time to up pot them, and it's going to perfectly create this size soil block. So I can just take one of these mini soil blocks with the seedling and just directly sit it into my larger soil block. And it should work really easy from what I've watched other people do. And I'm really enjoying them so far. Now I'm using a flat bottom tray for this. My larger ones, I can use my trays that have some ridges in them, but for these little ones, I think you need a flat bottom tray. I realized I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows if I put them a little closer together, which I definitely want to maximize my space. So I just pushed all these back a little bit, and I'm going to put 2 more right here. And this one's a little short, so I'm going to redo this one. Might as well. I have 2 trays done. And now what I'm realizing is I have no idea how many I should make because I've done absolutely zero math on how many of each variety I want to start. And so what I need to do now is a little bit of math. I'm a type of person that's a jump all in type person, get started, and then we'll figure it out as we go. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Now I know that today I'm going to be starting all my snapdragons and petunias and a bunch of other things. And I want 2 beds out of my 20 to be just snapdragons. But I have absolutely no idea how many plants I could plant in one bed. So I just looked it up, and I can plant my snapdragons 6 to 9 inches apart. Here is my little chart here. I'm just gonna draw out a bed. This is how I'm gonna do my math. I'm not sure if this is exactly how I'm supposed to do it, but this is what makes sense in my head. My beds are 16 feet wide, so I'm gonna multiply 16 times 12, because that's how many inches are in a foot. And then I'm gonna divide that by, I'm gonna plant them a little close together, so I'm probably gonna plant them every 6 inches. Oh, that math would have been really easy. It's 32. So I can plant 32 plants across, and they're 4 feet wide. I can plant 8 depth. So I need 256 plants for one 16 by 4 foot bed. Okay, so let's do some math here. So I need 12.8 of my mini soil blocks for one raised bed. So that means if I want 2, I don't know if you're tracking this, if I want 2 beds full of snapdragons, about one of these is one bed's worth. So I know that these 2 are going to be dedicated just to snapdragons. So that means I'm also starting today petunias, my celery, my eucalyptus. So I think what I'm going to do is go make 2 more trays worth. And I can already tell you, I do not have enough trays for this year's garden. I am starting hundreds more seedlings this year than I did last year. But this is gonna save me a lot because a packet of snapdragon seeds is about $4, give or take. $2 if I buy them at MI Gardener, and anywhere up to $6 if I buy them at Johnny Seeds. And they come with 50 seeds in each pack. And last year, that's just for Johnny Seeds. So Baker Creek snapdragons come with 300 seeds. And it cost me about $4 or $5 for one snapdragon plant at my local big box store. And I know that I'm not just gonna put snapdragons in my raised beds, I'm gonna put them in my green stalks, I'm gonna put them in my flower pots on my patio. So I need to start a lot more snapdragons than just 2 trays worth, but for sure 2 trays worth. So I think I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go fill these 3 trays up with soil blocks, and I'll be right back. Hopefully that was tracking. You know what, I think I'm gonna stop there. I think I'm gonna see if this is enough, and we'll go from there. So that is 4 trays of the mini soil blocks completed. We're gonna get these here. And now we're going to start some seeds. And you know what I need under my belt? I need a quick, easy win. I know that some of these seeds that we're gonna be starting are gonna be pretty tedious. And one of them that we're gonna be starting today is not gonna be tedious at all. And that is right here. My onions. These are gonna be easy. We're not gonna do these in soil blocks. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna start these. I have 3 varieties. 2 of the 3 varieties are what are called storage onions, meaning that after I harvest them, and as long as I cure them properly, they should store for up to 9 months in the basement. One of them is not. So the first one I have is a yellow onion, and it's called Patterson. It's a hybrid. And these are long day onions. When it comes to onions, depending on where you live in the country, there's long day, which are in the north. There's intermediate, which is kind of in the middle of the country. And then there's short day, which is in the south. And depending on where you live, you need to select the type of onion for your region. And I can link something down below explaining that. Johnny Seeds actually has a really good one. You put your zip code in. I'm pretty sure that's where I bought my seeds. I'll find one of those calculators for you. You put your zip code in it, and then it'll tell you, do you need long, intermediate, or short? I need long day because of where I live in the country. And so the first one is Patterson. This is what it looks like. It's a yellow storage onion. The second one is Red Wing. It's a red onion. I'll put it right here so you can see what that looks like. And then the last one is Walla Walla Sweet. I've always had the best luck growing Walla Wallas. They are not a storage onion variety, meaning once you harvest them, they only last for about a month, maybe 2. So I'll probably end up needing to dice these up and freeze them because my goal is to try to grow. I've got a total of 250. I have 750 seeds right here. So hopefully, if we had 500 out of these 750 germinate and I could plant into the garden, I would be happy with that. So what we're gonna do things a little different when it comes to the onions. I'm gonna grab one of my larger trays here, and we're actually gonna start these in a deeper pot.
I learned this technique from Whole Fed Homestead. She's got a whole series on starting onions. I have attempted to grow onions from sets, plants that I've purchased online, and growing myself. I did not have great luck with the quality when I ordered them online last year. I've had terrible luck growing them from sets. And so I want to try to get better at starting the seed myself. It's the most affordable way to grow onions. And this technique where you use a deeper pot, I think is a good idea. And that is why I'm going with Whole Fed Homestead's technique on starting onions this year. So I'm going to share with you the whole process, but I will link her video series down below.
The first thing we need to do before we put seeds in these pots is label them. And I'm going to plant all the onion seeds that I have. One of the main reasons it's so important that I label, especially my onions, is I need to know when I plant them in the garden and I go to harvest them. I know which ones are the storage versus which ones are the not storage onions, so that I properly take care of them. Obviously, the red ones I'll be able to tell. I'm only growing one red variety, but the other ones is going to be important. This is my red wing variety, and I've got my seeds here, and all I'm going to do is sprinkle them evenly around. I decided I was going to put the 250 seeds divided between 8 of these containers. I just filled up more of these 4-inch pots that I'm going to need. I haven't covered these yet with soil. I just filled up, I think, 12 more of those 4-inch pots, but I have run out of my soil, and I don't have, my water is not boiling anymore, so I don't have boiling water. This is just warm water now. I'm going to go put this on the stove, get this boiling again so we can open up another one of these bags. And then we're going to start some of our other seeds while this is boiling. I just grabbed a stool from inside, and I grabbed some toothpicks and a little bowl, because the next seeds we're going to be starting in these soil blocks are so itty bitty teeny tiny. It's getting cold out there now, so I'm going to shut all these doors. And these soil blocks that we're working with are so itty bitty teeny tiny. It's going to take a little bit for that water to come back up to a boil. So I'm going to move my onion stuff to the side. I've got these beautiful pansies. And one thing I just learned this year that I didn't fully comprehend is the idea of surface sowing, or the idea that some seeds need light to germinate. And I just, over my head, I did not realize that. I didn't think that, I didn't know that that was a thing until last year. I was sowing some things and trying to grow some things, and I had read a few comments that you all had mentioned, X, Y, and Z needs light to germinate. Hadn't gone down that road of research at all yet. And this year I went through all my seeds, and on my little chart here, I wrote down what seeds need light to germinate. And the seeds that need light to germinate are Echinacea, Aster, Rudbeckia, Poppy, Snapdragon, Eucalyptus, Petunias, Stock, and Celery. And those are a lot of things that we're going to be starting today. So I've got 100 seeds in here of these pansies. It even says on this seed packet, surface sow, which I believe that means it needs light to germinate. That's the indication. And I just missed that the last 3 years of my gardening journey. So here, I've got a clean bowl. I've got my itty bitty teeny tiny seeds. I have 100-ish seeds in here. I'm gonna put a little bit of water in this bowl. And now I have water. This is the technique I got from Flower Hill Farm. I'm gonna take my toothpick, I'm gonna dip it in my water, and then I'm going to use that moist toothpick to pick up a seed. There's actually 2 seeds on there. And I'm gonna put those 2 seeds right in the middle. Okay, it wants to pick up lots of seeds. So I'm gonna put 2 seeds in each one of these soil blocks. So this block of 20 I have sowed with these pansies. So now I'm gonna do this second grid back here. So we'll have 40 full soil blocks with 2 seeds in each one. Now I have 40 little blocks with 2 seeds in each one. I think I'm gonna start with that because I've never started these before and I don't know how well or successful I'm gonna be. So I still have probably about half my seeds in here. This seed pack says it came with approximately, give or take, 100 seeds. So now what I'm gonna do is put these seeds back in my seed packet. And then I'm gonna wipe this bowl out to make sure I don't have any seeds or dirt in it or water. I'm gonna close this up. I love these. I think these are so pretty. So that is our first flower of 2024's garden sowed. And we need to mark what these are. What I'm gonna do to probably make this really easy on myself is every variety I start, I'm gonna start at least 40 soil blocks so that I can just put right here, this is what this is, and I know that these 2 soil blocks going this way are the same thing. Otherwise, it's gonna probably be too complicated for me to keep things straight. So this is what I used last year and it worked really, really well, is I just used white duct tape. And I used that because that's what was left in this room from the previous owner. And I used it and it worked really well. So I'm gonna put pansies. These are the only variety of pansies that I am starting today. And I'm gonna put what color they are, because that is what is the most important thing to me, so that I know what color they are. Let's see, put this like this on here. And I'm gonna create a little tail. I'm gonna fold that under so that when I go to remove this, it'll be easy. I can just pull this and take the whole thing off. And what I like to do is actually make this a little less sticky so that it doesn't leave so much residue on these by the end of the season. You could use masking tape too. I just used this duct tape because it was free and this is what I had and it worked really well. I think what I'm gonna do before I get started anymore is I'm gonna lay out where I'm gonna plant what things. So this first tray where we have the pansies, these are supposed to sprout in about 7 days. The petunias are supposed to sprout in about 7 to 10 days, I think. 7 to 14. So I'm gonna put these on the same tray. And I have these 3 varieties of petunias. I have 2 more varieties of petunias that are in the mail on their way here. They might actually be in my mailbox. So I'm gonna leave these 2 sections open and I'm gonna plant 40 of each of the colors. So these are the 3 colors I have here. And then over here, I am going to do my eucalyptus and my celeriac at my celery because these take anywhere from 17 to 20 days to germinate, both the eucalyptus, the celeriac, and the celery. Oh wait, this is celeriac and celeriac. So I want to take one of these off. I'm glad I noticed that. Celeriac is the same thing as this. It's a root vegetable. It tastes slightly of celery. It looks terrible. It tastes fantastic if you've never had it. So I want to make sure I pull out, if I can do this, some Utah tall celery. That I've had good luck growing this variety. And then these are my 4 eucalyptus. I'm gonna do 40 of each of them, and there's 50-ish seeds in each one of these packs. So this is baby blue. I'll show you a picture of what each of one of these looks like up in this corner. So baby blue, silver dollar. This is the one that I grew last year and had very, very good success with. Book leaf. I am excited to try this one. And then here, oh wait, okay. These are the same. Did I on accident buy the exact same? Okay, I did. I on accident bought the same. So I'm gonna need to decide which one I'm gonna grow more of. Maybe, I don't know. I'll have to figure that out in just a minute. Over here, we have our 2 trays of snapdragons. This is Black Prince, Orange Wonder, White. I grew these last year. These 2 varieties right here, the Butterfly Pink and the Butterfly Red, are both a really frilly snapdragon. So instead of having kind of smooth edges on the outside, they're ruffly. So I'll show you what the red and the pink look like here. So I decided to get the red and pink because I thought those were the prettiest colors. And then this is a mix. So this has a bunch of different colors. It's the Pontiac Berry Blend, and the Pontiac is kind of like a variety of snapdragon, just like the Butterfly is a variety of snapdragon. So I got the mix on this one. Now that this is steaming, we're gonna get back to our flowers. So last year I attempted to grow petunias and I did not realize they needed light to germinate, and that could have been my problem. Petunia seeds are incredibly small. They came in this packet in here. I need no dirt in here because I'm not gonna be able to tell the difference between dirt and seed very well. There is supposed to be 50 seeds in here. They don't want to come out because of the static. So I'm probably just going to plant all of these seeds. So this seed packet's empty. I'm just gonna stick that there for a minute, and I'm gonna use my toothpick and my water. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the pansies. So I have 2 seeds on my toothpick. I'm gonna go ahead and just stick those in the soil. And I'm gonna do this for all 3 of my petunia varieties. And I'm gonna go this way first so that I can remember where they are, because these ones are a little bit harder to see where I've placed them because they're so much smaller. They said there was about 50 seeds in this pack, but I was able to get at least 2 seeds in each one of these cells, so that was 40. So they definitely gave me more seeds than 50, which is awesome. So now I'm gonna clean my bowl out again, and I can see there's actually still 2 seeds in there, so I'm just gonna go put that like that. And I'm just gonna go ahead, because I used all these seeds, I'm just gonna stick that on there for now. And now we're gonna do this one. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna open this up. Got my seeds here. I'm gonna stick this on the 3rd row. I'm gonna get them in my bowl. And then I'm gonna fill this row up. We're gonna do these ones next. And I think I'm gonna rotate my tray so that I'm working this way. Let's work smarter, not harder, right? Let's not work against us. So this is the last petunia I'm gonna start that I actually have the seed. The other petunias, I'm still waiting for the seed to arrive. So as soon as the seeds arrive, I have a spot right here where I will get them started. If I can get these seeds to germinate, then for $4, I'm getting hopefully at least 40. When I went to that local nursery, local to me, we went shopping there. They had the most beautiful petunias. Petunias are one of my favorite flowers now. I think they were like almost $7 for one start. So for $12, I could hopefully get hundreds, or at least 100 petunias. I tried them last year and none of them germinated. So here's to trying again. I officially have all my petunias that I have in my house done. I'm just marking little lines here to indicate which ones are which. And I kind of like the idea of just keeping this seed packet with it. I'm gonna, of course, write it down here so that I don't lose it. So these are done. Just gonna use my spray bottle. This just has water in it. This is just the beginning, what I'm gonna do to finish these off. So now I'm gonna start on my eucalyptus and celeriac. So I'll be back when I get all of these done. I have all of my soil blocks planted except for those two rows right there where I'm still waiting for my petunia seeds. I'm gonna write down on my chart. So I've been handwriting it anytime I do anything in here, and then I go inside and in my computer, I actually type it up so that next year I can print off exactly what I did today. And I'm not only gonna say what I started, I'm also going to write down how many seeds I started so that if I want to do the same amount next year, or say I need to do more of a particular variety or particular color, then I know how many I started this year. Keeping track in written form is one of my biggest goals for this next year. So now I'm watering these in really, really well. Then I need to run inside and grab one more thing to finish these off. And then these are done. And then we're gonna finish our onions. So I'm just getting these watered in. I don't even know why I was trying that little spray bottle. I have got a hose over here now. So I'm just gonna put these on here. I turn this on really, really low. Put that on there. Just a little bit of water. And that's basically it. Okay, watered in. Now we need to cover these so that they stay nice and humid. I just have plastic wrap. I'll use this plastic wrap throughout the growing season. I don't have humidity domes for all of these. Put this here. I need to plug this in. Because these need light to germinate. I have a light timer on here. I guess this one I turned on down here. That there. I have 2 more seed packets to finish up today's planting. We've got our red wing onions here, which these need to be topped off because these do not need light to germinate. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a little dollop of doula on each one of these. I'll water them all in at the end. So now I need to fill a few more pots, but for now I'm gonna go ahead and get my Patterson planted. So this is my Patterson. Each one of these trays is just gonna have one variety of onion. So I decided instead of labeling every single one, I'll just have one label per tray. This is gonna give them good root establishment, hopefully. I'm going to cover these ones with the plastic wrap as well. These do not need to go under the grow lights. These don't need light to germinate. Oh, I need to wash my soil blocker off. You definitely do not want to leave that soil blocker dirty and for it to dry like that, because then it can ruin the mechanics of it. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So this one is our Walla Wallas. Got my tag here. The soil is still nice and warm. It's not hot, but it's warm, which is really nice. It's really nice to work with it like that. Okay, that looks great. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these watered in. Piece of plastic wrap on the top, and then we're gonna get these on the heat mat, and that is today's seed starting. Pretty exciting. We started a huge majority of the flowers we're going to be growing this year. The majority of the flowers that I'm growing needs to start early. We still have definitely a lot more we're gonna plant, but this was a huge jump start on that. We have one last thing we need to do before we walk away from this is I need to set the temperature for my heat mat because I can regulate the temperature of this heat mat. Some things need to start at a 85-degree soil temperature. This said 70 to 75. So currently I have my heat mat set to 76. I'm gonna turn that down, I think to 73. I'm gonna set that, perfect. And what it does is right now this room is 60 degrees currently. And what I'm gonna do is take this end and I'm gonna plug it in my soil, and it'll take the temperature of the soil and it will kick on the heat mat when the soil gets too cold and turn the heat mat off when the soil gets too warm. So that's perfect. I went ahead and cleaned up my mess. I put away a bunch of seeds. I need to put more seeds away. And we are currently now growing 2024's garden. It is official. So it's pretty exciting. I'm excited to see how well this goes. I do have my little traps up for, you know, if there are any sort of flies or bugs in here. Right now, I haven't seen any in, at least last time, it's been like a month. So that's pretty exciting. So I need to go inside. I need to make some dinner. So thank you for being here. If you're interested in any of the seed starting equipment, I'll link it down below. If you're new, I welcome you to subscribe. We are going to be growing and preserving and harvesting all sorts of good stuff, hopefully out of this garden. And I'm excited just to see what happens this year. And I welcome you to join along the journey. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. If you want to see some of my other videos here, you can go enjoy between now and my next upload. Good night, friend.